And he like resents me a little bit. I love you. He's watching in New Mexico. What are you gonna do? So let's talk about what Matt Netzer wasn't good at first. He was not good at not getting pulled over. Okay? We went to high school together. We lived in the Grapevine Colleyville area, and he had this awesome 72 Chevelle named Shelly. And that poor kid, man, he would, like Nate, you were a worse driver. But and when you got pulled over, you were able to talk your way out of it. And there were so many of us in the group that were worse drivers, and Matt really tried to be careful. But the cops just were like, there he is, get him. He got pulled over 34 times in high school. I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, 34 times. So Eric was telling me about this one story where Eric Pickett, love you guys, I think it was Eric, Joseph, Tyler, and Matt in Shelley, gets pulled over in Colleyville somewhere, and the cops are like, these guys are big, these guys are in trouble. So they search the car. They're like looking for drugs, looking for alcohol. We were a clean group of guys. So they search the car, they take all the stuff out, and they find a cube of Mountain Dew. And so they're like, whoa, you guys are hardcore, right? Yeah, Mountain Dew guys. So then after that, these cops knew them as the Mountain Dew guys, and they would pull them over. And they're like, it's the Mountain Dew guys. That's how they knew them. So we were still getting in trouble, but not doing bad stuff. We're just drinking Mountain Dew and speeding a little bit. Gosh, he was the worst. Okay, he was the best at everybody in this room. Matt has showed you a song, and he's just like, oh, dude, oh. And so Toadies, live, worship. David Crowder came out with a new album yesterday. Five Iron Frenzy's new album dropped yesterday. Like, he would be the one that goes, dude, and he would rope me into it. So I remember he would drive the Ranger. He's working at Outback Steakhouse, and this new invention called the Discman came out. Tracking with me, and it doesn't flow off your tongue at all. The Discman. And what happened is the Discman you'd have an auxiliary out, and it had a tape. Anybody know what tapes are? Tracking with me? Got it. So there was an adapter that went into the tape deck of your head unit. So you put that in so you can listen to your CD. So he'd get his new CD, and inevitably we build up to the song, and he'd hit a bump and it would skip. He would lose his ever-loving mind. Like, ooh. And I'm like, dude, I get it. I can wait for a second. I know what the song is. And he would just get so mad. And so then he's working at Outback Steakhouse, and he saved up for the skip-proof Discman. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
He was so excited about it. And it would read the song before, and then if it hit a bump, it would kind of remember. And he got it, and there was this new song that was great. And Murphy's Law, man, we hit some bumps at the right time of the right song. And I don't have the steel trap memory that he does, but I'm pretty sure he just took it, just lost it, and I think we were on 121, cruising past Paul Johnson, and just threw it out of the truck. Like, he was so mad. And that's not his temperament. He's such a chill dude, right? But there were these things that and it was so fun for us to watch, because I'm like, man, I get mad at stupid stuff. Well, that's kind of stupid. So, let's talk about what he was good at. He was the best at dancing. Like you saw those pictures up there, he had me. I could hang with him like I was a better wakeboarder. Sorry, dude, it's just the way it is, okay? We were about average students, we did okay, but we didn't get great grades. We would wrestle, and sometimes he would just bust out the moves. And I would try to hang with him, and I couldn't do it. That was just something he always could bust out at any time. The reason this irritated me was because when we met in 7th grade, I was really trying to dance like Vanilla Ice. Legitimately put some time into it, man. I had the patent leather shoes with the thing on it, and we were kid and play, and the whole thing. Some of y'all, I lost some of y'all, I'm gonna be honest. and then I, like Jamie Phillips and I would dance in front of the mirror and work on moves and do flippy things, and Matt would just cite it and just walk in, and I didn't love that. Because never mind. Choosing music, the guy, I wish we could all share the music that he shared with us. I really do. I'm sure somebody out there has a website or a link going, listen to this song, listen to this song. We could go on forever. He was the best at naming stuff. I pride myself in naming stuff. He was better at it. Level 5. Like he would, I got a cool youth group cool name for the youth group. Level 5. I'm like, whatever. It's not that good. Because it was awesome. But I just didn't want him to know that. My name's better. Real life. No, level 5. Numbers is a new thing, man. We had this conversation. Like all the youth group's gonna be numbers. I forgot a fraternity, the Edge.
Woo!
Right?
Yep.
So our youth group's name was the Edge, and Matt and I would be like, sorry, Kevin, I love you, Kevin Adams. But later on in life, we're like, the Edge. It was a pretty cheesy youth group name. So level 5, we would tease each other about that. I don't know how to make my iPad stop turning off. This tech's not my strong suit. We're going to get a little serious moving in here. The kid he had a work ethic that irritated me because I just wanted to play, and you remember that. I just wanted to play. And he would be at Outback Steakhouse, busting tables and working a shift, and we would all be at Don's house, hanging out. I'm watching Beavis and Butthead on your cable, and I'm just waiting, and it was kind of like, when does Matt get off? Is he first out? Is he last out? And if he was first out, that means we got to see him at like 11 or maybe midnight. If he was last out, we're looking at 2. And so we would be in your pool, jumping off your house. Those pictures didn't make it up there. We got in big trouble. We were really bored, and we jumped off Don's house into the pool. It was awesome. Man, it's awesome. He had a really good work ethic. Remember going to Terlingua, and the first time I ever heard leave it better than you found it. And so I'm in Terlingua, and I want to shoot guns, run around, and be crazy. And you're like, no, we got chores to do. Or Matt said that to me. We've got stuff we have to do because part of earning our right to go here is to help build it up. And I was in a little lake near my house just a few months ago, and we showed up, and there's trash everywhere. I'm like, all right, kids, we'll leave it better than we found it. Right? And so those are things that he picked up from y'all that he passed on to us. So appreciate that. Domino's Pizza, we work together at Domino's. Again, I just go in and make some tip money. I'm like, I'm cool, first out, dishes. I go home, and I was just wanting to hang out with him is what I wanted to do. And he'd be late coming in the room. We found out we weren't that good of roommates. We'll get to that here in a minute. The irony is I kicked Dusty out to get Matt as my roommate, and then found out like, oh, okay, I'm a morning person and he's a night owl. Oh man. Watching him do the work that he did in St. Louis, he just put in 10, I don't remember how many years, he put in so many years of hard work and loving students so well that the bar that I measured my own ministries off of were the bars that he lived at. I just wanted to do that and be like that. Of course, you can't tell him that because, right? He knew that. The foundation in Terlingua, the little deal you built, T-Bob said, my first trip out there, Terry had this, I guess it was an old cabin or that you were going to build or something, and you just never built anything on it. So it was my first trip out to Terlingua. Matt and I were playing guitar, it was this old Takamine, and it was just Washburn is what it was. And we weren't good at singing or playing guitar, it was just bad. And Terry's like, you boys build a church here. And those were the beginnings of his heart to plant a church and build a church and do what the Lord wanted him to do. Mm-hmm. Right? And I remember this very special moment. It was he and I can't remember who else it was, maybe Gershom, don't remember, singing. And I just remember how hard it was to sing, our God is an awesome God, he reigns from heaven above. And this moment was so miraculous and special. And it rained on us in the desert with a cloudless sky. And we were like, oh, right? And then to get a vision for this place, right? And to say, hey, I'm going to plant a church and to do something different. I think what really blew me away the last few days is that Matt didn't come into this community trying to go, I'm the new church on the block, but he worked with local pastors and wanted to fill in the gaps. It takes a real special kind of pastor to see a new person come into the church and go, hey, if you have a church home already, why don't you go there before you make our home your church home? Like he was turning people away just to make sure that he wasn't stealing people from other churches. Who does that? Right? The man had integrity. I think in a day and age where, hey Ross, can you toss me that water? In a day and age where we need, oh, you can totally toss it. This is Matt's funeral. Oh, there's water right there too. In a day and age where we have leaders that are falling left and right. And frankly, it's really hard to look in the public eye and then just pick someone to trust. It really is. I can assure you that Matt was the man that you wanted him to be and that you needed him to be. He was everything you thought he was. Amen.
Amen.
No doubt about it, okay? We're talking about what he's best at. You know what? Sitting in the preacher spot, I'm feeling the long-windedness coming on. Yeah, I see why you liked it, man. Sorry, Don. Sorry, not sorry. Okay. Hey, guys. I love you. So we'll talk about how he was the best daddy. Micah and Lucy helped pick the songs for the slideshow. And Sarah, I've heard that one, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's totally him, right? So here was one of the high points of my week, you guys, is you came outside first, right, Lucy, to help me with that? I think you came out first. And I'm like, Lucy, can you help me with some songs? And immediately you were like, man, Mike is better at this than I am. And I was gonna, so many people helped me. One of the ideas I had was to build an email and everybody send their pictures to. Jordan, thanks for building that slideshow. And so Lucy was like, Mike can name that website or name that email better than I can. Right? So I don't know what you're encouraging your brother, right? Who's that remind me of? It reminds me of your dad, you know? Oh, and you should have seen Micah at the Christmas deal because he read in front of like 300 people and then he was online. He did so good. Oh, my heart was just like, oh my goodness, yes. And then Micah came out and I hadn't laughed since Friday, right? So you were good for me, dude. And you came out and you told me about that meme, right? It was so good, man. Hey, and so, mind you, this is Micah telling me a story. So right now I'm telling a story about Micah telling me a story about Lucy. Micah says, Lucy's so funny. She made a meme last week of Darth Vader, and it said, Darth Vader's they should have foreshadowed Darth Vader a little better with dad jokes. Alderaan, more like Aldergone. And that was gold. I laughed out loud. And I'm like, so here's Micah encouraging, telling me stories. Who does that sound like? Telling me stories about his sister, about how good she is, about how funny she is. I see your dad all over you. And I'm so proud of you. And I know he is. And Lucy, our talk yesterday, shots fired, Lucy, shots fired. We took a walk yesterday, we're walking, and she's like, Hal, Yoda from episodes 1, 2, and 5 is better than Yoda from episodes 4, 5, and 6. I was like, come on, kid, man. I'm like, you know why? Because Yoda from 4, 5, and 6 was a puppet. It didn't have CG. Shots fired, Lucy. I love you. I came in on Saturday, Sarah, and you told me that you didn't know how to make your coffee. Because he made it for you every morning. Like he won the lottery with you. You know? So, and a lot of you'll hear us when we talk around the Matt conversation is like we want him for ourselves, like we kind of steal him. And I think there's a bit of that when he started talking about you. I'm like, I knew I'm gonna have to share him. Like I knew when he started talking. And I wish I was around for that pickup line. That was legit. Yeah, he goes to Numinous to get his coffee. So he gets up and he makes Sarah her coffee. Then he goes and gets his own coffee. Like he just loved you. So for you dudes, raising the bar here, Matt. So we go to get after it. Start making our wives some coffee. He was the best friend. The best friend. If Matt was your best friend, I want you to raise your hand. Do that again. Let's just look. That's not how this works. Okay? You follow me? Generally speaking, when I grew up, friendship worked like this. You had a bunch of friends, and then you had your best friend. And it was pretty much understood that that best friend thought that you were his best friend. It was an exclusive thing. This is how friendship works, right? You don't share friends. Joseph Kohler, are you here, buddy? You and I fist fought over Matt Netzer. Yeah, like went to blows on the back row of Grapevine High School. We fought over Matt Netzer. And I know we do it again, right? Because we loved him and he was absolutely worth it. You know? He was the best friend. So, because Matt's a youth pastor, here's what we're going to do. Matt would want us to love like he would. Matt would want us to share. So I tried to be Matt. You can't be Matt, but when I heard everything happen, I got here last week and I wanted to just like fill in the gaps and love where I could and serve where I could and help where I could. And immediately I found out Matt was always really fun and happy-go-lucky, but he had a bandwidth of loving people that I've never seen in my life that I don't think I grasped. The bandwidth would require like multiple people and a real high-powered person like being on the phone all the time. And Matt was just Matt. And so many people, like I just talked to him yesterday. I just talked to him last week and we just had a conversation. Or I hadn't seen him, but he just reached out to me. And a lot of it was Matt reaching out to people. That's humbling. So I want you to think about somebody in your life right now. Get your phone ready. Get your phone out, okay? But we're going to do a little exercise because I think it would make Matt happy. I want you to think of somebody that you could be a friend to like Matt was a friend to you. Okay? We're going to call them right now. Or what will also make Matt happy is if we shut down the cell towers, he'll feel like he's sticking it to the man a little bit. So we're going to take about 1 minute. And I want you to call somebody that you haven't maybe talked to in a long time. Okay? All this week you've been like, man, I wish I could reach out. Okay? I want you to make that phone call right now. Go. Talk long. I just want you to know how much I love you. I'm gonna call you Monday, okay? And I just love you, and I'm sorry I don't call you enough. Okay? Okay. Promise? I love you, baby. All right. I wondered how that would work. I was thinking through that a lot. Was I the only person that made a phone call? No, good. We got people on the phone. Good. I'm going to wait. Make sure you do that.
You're good.
For real. Okay. Am I still talking? I think Matt would be proud of that. Right? Okay.
Turn your mic back on out.
This is my first rodeo. Check. There we go. Thank you. I appreciate that. Matt was the best at believing in you. He absolutely was. There was a season where I wasn't living for Jesus like I was supposed to, and Matt thought I was. And Tyler, you were like, Matt, that Alf's doing this thing. And Matt went, I think the way I understood this, he went toe to toe with you defending my honor. But you were right. Right? I was living in sin and I was living a hypocrite life. Right? But Matt believed in me. And he was willing to fight you, which would have been funny at the time, right? We always wrestled, but Matt believed the best in me. He really did. Matt would want to comfort you right now, and the best comfort that I got was from my brother-in-law this last week, and he lost his best friend 10 years ago. My brother-in-law and I are like, hey dude, what's up? I know you're watching. And we're pretty stoic, like we hug, but we're dudes, and we haven't really broke that emotional boundary yet. And so he poloed me this week, and he immediately was just emotional. This was Saturday on my way up here. He goes, this is my comfort to you because it was comfort to me. He goes, Alf, here's the best thing I can tell you, is this is gonna really, really hurt for a really long time. It's been 10 years for him. Like, my life has changed now without my friend. And he goes, Alf, I promise, you're going to start seeing things that remind you of Matt. And it's going to happen a lot because you have a lot of memories. And you're going to be sad. You're going to be really, really sad for a really long time. And he said, and eventually, you'll smile first. And then you'll be sad. And then some more time will go, and then you'll smile longer. And you'll be sad less. And then eventually, you'll just be really happy that you had such a good friend. I'm already happy that I had a good friend. Matt was the best at having fun. We're talking about the Orangel Wars. When we were roommates at Sagu, Matt initiated what I like to call the Orangel Wars. And I got up and I went to the bathroom in our dorms that were horrible, shower curtains, and I brushed my teeth. And I'm like, go to class, and my mouth begins to go numb. He put Orangel on my toothbrush. So I like, and my mouth was, totally went down, totally got me. So we mentioned before, I was the early to bed. He played video games with all the other guys in my room, and I'm like trying to sleep. And usually I think I was pretty cool, but there were times when I had a test or something, and I'd yell at them, and I'd get mad. And I remember one time, they were just so loud playing video games that I had decided before I fell asleep, like, he's getting it. So I wake up, and the first thing, and he's not a morning guy. He's laying there, and I just got that Orangel. I just put it on my finger, and I stood over him, and I just went, oh. I just poked it in his mouth, and his face, he's like, looks up at me, and then like, I didn't realize his mouth was going numb. I'm like, what's up now? I went to class and left him. And please, somebody tell me who this person was. It was Jason Bohawk or Jason Dickinson. The best one, my goodness. He thought it out and planned it out, okay? So we're sitting at the Catholic Southwestern Assembly of God, and we sit down. He's got the Orangel ready to go. He put it on his finger, like right here, okay? And then I think Jason Bohawk sits down with his drink, and Jason puts his cup down. And so Matt kind of does like, oh, hey dude, what's up? Hey, yeah, man, hey, what are you drinking? And he very covertly and tactfully put that orange ale right there on the edge of Jason's cup. He's like, oh, you drinking? Oh, Mountain Dew, cool, man. And so he sits back, and Kelly was with me at this time, so we're in the cabin. And Matt waited for him to take that first drink. So he takes the drink, puts it back down. Matt's like, let's pray. So he's like, dear Lord, would you just go before us today? Would you bless our food? And Lord, would you just rid us of sin in our lives? If there's any sin in our lives, would you just get rid of it? Would you take it out? Would you purge it from us? And let that come over us with a numbness. Make our mouths committed to you. Would you make our mouths numb and dead to sin? And if we have sin, just cause numbness. And then let our teeth fall out. And then grind our teeth to powder. So as soon as Matt started praying, Kelly and I are like, we picked our heads up. And we're watching, and it was like the Holy Spirit intervened. Jason puts his head down, and as soon as Matt says numbness, he goes. Kelly and I are like looking over our hands, like watching, and he's like, trying to shake it off, like this can't be happening, right? He does this. And then by the time he opens his eyes, Kelly and I are looking at him, and Matt had committed. He's like, super Jesus face. And Jason sees Kelly and I like looking, and he goes, and then he realizes the joke was on him. Matt was the best at making us feel better. Matt mentioned everybody putting the fun back in funeral. Too soon for that?
It's all good.
He would have liked that. My iPad shut down. Cool. All these things that Matt learned, he learned it from Jesus. Storytelling? Oh, I didn't even talk about storytelling. Oh yeah, I'm going to do storytelling. Thanks, I should read my notes. This one is one I heard about you guys, but I heard it from Matt. Okay, and I wish I was there for this one. The BB gun wars. And the way he talks about it, just raise your hand, guys. These guys right here. They would roll up aluminum foil in the house and just have BB gun wars and like run around and shoot each other. And the way I understood it hurt pretty bad. So this particular story that Matt told me, you had him pinned in the bathroom, right? And he was out of ammo, and so he's looking around and he's trying to figure out what to shoot at you because he's out of aluminum foil to roll up in his BB gun. Matt's looking around and they had a parakeet, and he just takes his birdseed and pours it down the barrel of his BB gun. And he comes out and like, bam, shoots Tyler. And the way Matt told the story was that Tyler went, ah! And hits the ground and said the birdseed hit the back of his throat. And I think Matt thought that he killed him initially. I wasn't there for that. Matt told, so he was so good at telling stories. The other one. Kevin Adams needed to take Matt to help a runaway youth. And so Kevin's 30-something, I don't remember how old you were, man. And he takes Matt with him, and they're going down William D. Tate, comes off 121 William D. Tate, and these girls roll up, and they're like, hey! And that's weird, because you got your youth pastor, and you're one of the young youth workers, and there's this awkward moment, and Matt leans forward and goes, he's old! It just confused the whole thing, and Kevin just drove away, and I can only imagine these girls going, I wasn't there for that. This is just the storyteller that he was. Matt learned all this from Jesus. Storyteller, that's Jesus. Wanting the best for you, that's Jesus. Being a best friend, working hard, and leaving the world a better place, that's Jesus, right? The thing that Matt would not want you to leave here without today is knowing how much Jesus loves you. And it's easy for a lot of us to check out right now. Oh, it's the Jesus part of this. I want you to stop, and I want you to look at the room. I want you to look at the impact that Matt had in Marble Falls, in Oklahoma, at Waxahachie, at Grapevine, Texas. Matt could not have done that without Jesus. Matt devoted his entire life to Jesus. We had some really sweet time in the Koinonia room last night, and part of my grief has been just, I want to hear more about my friend. I couldn't be with him all the time, so I want to hear his story. And we went around the room, and there were different, like, oh yeah, I know about Matt Netzer. Like, some of y'all have heard about him, some of y'all know about him, and some of y'all know him, and some of y'all are going to fight for him in the back of the parking lot. Because he's my friend, right? And we had a lot of calls this week just saying, hey, I was bad to you. And Matt wouldn't want you to approach Jesus like, well, yeah, I'm a Christian. Or I'm religious. Or Jesus is a good guy. Matt would want you to approach Jesus like, no, he's my Lord. Like, he's my Jesus. Not some far-off thing, okay? The gospel means good news. For good news to be good news, it kind of has to come from bad spaces. Good news of what? The good news is that you're not okay on a spiritual level. You know it. You can feel it. We can feel it in our world. You know you're not perfect. You know it. I know it. And I think what we like to do is try to convince ourselves that I'm fine, I'm better than them, I'm fine. How do you know when you're good enough? You aren't ever good enough. Yeah. Matt lived his entire life so that you would know Jesus. This is not manipulation. This is not a Jesus juke. This is the moment. This is why I'm here right now, because I know what Matt would want. I know what Matt would want. Matt would want you to know Jesus. All right? Not far off. Not intellectually, personally, deeply. Right? My phone number is on the order of service. It's that bottom number there. Use it. If you're here and you're like, okay, I'm ready to listen to the message of Jesus. Matt was in the business of belief. He spent his life, the radio show, I'm kind of stumbling over myself because I want to drive the point home so hard right now. Are you tracking with me? And Matt would want me to be there to walk you through a journey with Jesus. It doesn't have to be me. It can be anybody. We're going to take a minute. Much like I used that phone call a minute ago, and I said, hey, that was my little sister. I haven't talked to her in a while. And I said, hey, baby, I love you. She started crying immediately. She's like, I know we haven't talked enough. I said, I'll call you on Monday. Okay, right? Sounds cheesy, y'all, but let's take a minute and talk to Jesus like a phone call, right? And maybe it's, Jesus, I just kind of know about you, and I'm intrigued because of that. Or, God, I was a Christian back in the day, and I kind of know about you, but, Or maybe you're here and you at one point walked with the Lord, and you know now that you're not walking with him the way you should be. Or maybe you and he are great. I just want to take a minute with you, with Jesus. And I trust you, you're adults, most of you. We're just going to take a few moments, and I want you to talk to Jesus right now. Like you'd be talking to a person. Like Matt is there going, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Jesus. trust that if you have any questions or needing help with next steps, would you text me? Most of y'all, I may not have your number, so you'll get to be anonymous, but I'm willing to try to fill in where this huge gaping hole, right? But I'm there to help. And you know you can reach out to other Christians in your life. We're going to end with this. Back in the Old Testament, you know, God parted the Red Sea. It's pretty rad. We've all seen things in Egypt. It really happened, by the way. And Moses, did the staff over the water, and water parted, and the Israelites walked across on dry ground. Later on, God was going to bring his people into a new land, into the promised land, and he had to have them cross tumultuous waters. Well, he's going to do what he did before. And God's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. This time, we're going to go across the Jordan River, and this time, you're going to have to step into the water first while the water's rushing. And they're like, what? No, surely you mean back when we did it 40 years ago, it needs to be. Like, no, you're going to step into the water, and you're going to have to trust me as you go through hard times. Okay? And then when they got to, by the time they got into the water, the Lord had dammed up the river upstream. And by the time they got into the part where it was going to carry them away, it died off. Right? Awesome. You know, whew. Okay. When they got done, the Lord said to Joshua, I want you to get every tribe of Israel, I want you to get a big stone. And we're going to make a monument of remembrance here. And remember what the Lord did. We got a little monument of remembrance of what the Lord did in our friend Matt. Okay? And as the ushers help us pay final respects to Matt, I want you to honor him by taking this rock. I'm a tactile person. I got to touch, man. I got to hug. I got to say I love you. And so this is a tactile way for you to remember Matt. And then honor him with what you've got left to live. Right? I want to pray. Lord, I pray you are honored today. And Lord, I miss my friend. We all miss our friend. I'd like to do a little better. Because he did. He really taught me a lot. So would you help me? Would you help us? We love you, Lord. In Jesus' name. And I hand it back over to Ross.